Me and Kwahumano, so as you earlier indicated, Nana Yaw Akwada ND Komo, where Executive Director Emma Bureau of Public Safety na yenjine thoughts. Say whether say restrictions ni yi anasi yenyi na backdoor no, we are being forced to forcibly take the jab. Nana Yaw anapai akwaba minia.
Me also Michia with tea for some.
Na impom design of ja.
Namadum, Eshani.
Eshani Ominia.
Fellow Spartan.
Fellow Spartan.
That we are kind of Spartan.
President,
okay,
President Mao is okay, because I say same way as Bao. Minia, Mami NG more reaction as an institution. After Omampeni, the lifting of the restrictions, and you be a news no more receiving the same.
I think we received it very well, even though we considered it was long overdue. These are actions that you need, say some of them could have been paused as far back as last year, and others could have been paused, as early as January this year. But we welcome the idea of the suspensions and the reopenings and the reforms that they have made.
It's interesting, sir. You anticipated said this would have been done last year, but I don't know whether you've seen the numbers in terms of how many Ghanaians have been vaccinated. I'm just looking at the numbers, and if you look at the numbers, almost the total number of doses at one more Ediama Ghana for in terms of vaccination drive, is around, let's say, 15 million. The fully vaccinated individuals, is around 5.5 million. And in percentage terms, is around 16.3. We were targeting 20 million fully vaccinated individuals. Now, so far, yeah, 5.5 million now. Is that reason enough for us to take off these restrictions, Minia?
Well, I think that while it's important to be guided by the data, it's also important to be guided by also the science. And in it's not, while vaccination is critical to managing the COVID-19, we also know there is what we call the herd immunity, where people can naturally build resistance to the effect of the virus. And these two go hand in hand. To the extent that we have put in place measures, or the system is available for people who are willing to take the vaccines, it is there. We are not having any hindrances whatsoever. U.S. Embassy are bringing several. I mean, in the last 4 or 5 months, we are seeing them, give us huge quantities of vaccines time and over. And we've also sorted, got a few from other countries like China and the vaccine is there for the people, for the masses, if they choose to. Aside that, we have also observed, talking about the science, said not many people are getting severely ill. Not many people are getting severely ill. Hospitalization also has reduced significantly. In the president's speech, he indicated that as we speak, there is 0 hospitalizations. And so that on the back of all the statistics now. Very sorry. On the back of all the statistics now, you can say it is safe to take the kind of decisions that the president and his team have taken.
Now, the question many would ask is, if majority of the people are asymptomatic, it would obviously mean that cases that will be recorded at our medical facilities would be low. And so that data based upon which I now make your analysis, It is data that is based on walk-ins, not necessarily so yeah test and who say this is the population one are infected. Nti so obi amba na say bi osinity and ya na ya anko check who say say COVID-19 we are talking about asymptomatic and infecting and reinfecting ourselves.
Well, comrade, I think we must bring ourselves to the bottom line. The bottom line is we have always known that as a country, we're running a 90% asymptomatic, 10% symptomatic scenario. I mean, since the inception. That's one. Two, we had always known, say, what makes COVID-19 a case or a matter of concern at any point within any jurisdiction is the severity and the fatalities, right? We need to put all those in perspective. The severity and the rate of fatalities. It is a senior yari bonipa emu ye dinefa a nipa humbe kwa unye human humbe chino a ebe hias for the hospital na ya me say yari bobia obewu no enu na ema yari no ehumbe ye a ye nyina na ye ho prepare and say we see to anamon bi wo na ye hwe ho suyi. So if these parameters and I say considerations are making are no longer, on the forefront, the banner front, there is no matter of concern. Say, yadi ni bebo nipa edu na se edu no enka na edu no ebo nipa edu a emu nkron de wɔn nkyɛ bibia sabo wɔn hwee enye wɔn na within 14 to 21 days afọ no wɔn ho bɛtɔ wɔn na baako ɛna ebia ɛbɛbɔ ne yareɛ ama yɛde na akɔ hospital yɛde oxygen si ne so na ɔno nso no after a while no na wɔwu na saa baako na ɛbɛbɔ ne yareɛ nso hwɛ mu a sɛ emu enum biara yɛbɛhu sɛ ɔmo abɔ yɛ ama yɛnya yareɛ aba hospital ayaresabea no ebia baako mmienu bi bɛhwɛ wɔn kwa na sɛ sei deɛ ɛbɔ nipa du a enya ade a ebe mo bia ayare akoba ni se bia obetimi ewu mpo a then I think so we are clearly out of the woods. Say COVID-19 eba be yet to say regular cold sana ye hu hwe sanya development na eba so na eba be to say regular cold me no ka say the me friend regular cold wa ha en no ebo amanfo afibia we bruche kunkum amanfo. Okay, so that's how COVID-19 will be evolving. Into Arabia, we as a people will have to learn to live with it. Now, learning to live with it, and I make earlier on about herd immunity. And I think last night, I was discussing with your producer. Say, on my penika say, wearing of nose mask is no longer mandatory. And not just say everybody should go out there and throw caution to the wind. Some malaria, at one point, it was the leading cause of in terms of health issues, and that was the leading cause of death, annually. Then so, a month for a quabontia, almost bomb by sent tuntum. And Kawam and Nasa and Tuntum will not breed in their localities and Nasa in their surroundings. And this type of paper and COVID-19 so bayano say nose mask wearing is no longer mandatory. But say me am women say me hypertension, me diabetes, me other underlying conditions medical doctors purchases our conditions see woman COVID-19 bushia woman to me and rocky until can result in death. So me call baby nipa bebre wa me bomb me home by me share me nose mask. Say brano me dia konyabano. I will also make sure that I employ the COVID-19 hygiene protocols. me so doorknobs, I will refrain from shaking hands unnecessarily in the count and frequently wash my hands. No bomb home by it's say COVID-19 no if you are near boku kwa enya nehi oh humpusa bonoda and a sign so action wako. Na me de bomia ebe bomb ya my ya men crab free me sem. Enti the changing from mandatory nose mask to non-mandatory voluntary nose mask no, it's not a signal that we should throw caution to the wind and go haywire. It is advised say obi abehwe ne napomudinimu na or they practice the hygiene. And I'm happy that even with the president's pronouncements and as a directive say it's no longer mandatory. We have corporate bodies that are saying hello. We will still make it mandatory for a while. And I think say as the mandatory period goes on, we increase our herd immunity potential. Just say one more to say yadian bomb and one more without medication, one more to me overcome yadian. That numbers will improve, and when it improves, then we will be diluting the strength of the virus along the line. And because you are in the bias, we are all witness to say the places that were hit most were the corporate bodies, were the corporate spaces. Maybe a man for cobalt on to say I quit Jumunia Tifako. Now we can't be a pun now we shall be a pun away near meetings upon meetings, touching surfaces, near Picahono. And when you who say I am a spreading there's been several research and surveys after service. HSA, one market, crown, and first and common common, ya dear bed to 12 hours or crown. A survey, a research that was done recently in Kumasi shows that in the market spaces, in the open spaces, someone share nose mask no more crown. Ya no ever form or no in the corporate spaces, I know amount for share nose mask near count or crown. Ya no was through. So I'm happy to say even with the president directives, corporate bodies are still, mandating the wearing of nose masks. And I think so if we are able to run this for the next half year or so now, we should be able to have a solid herd immunity. We can go about our lives, less restrictions.
All right. Now, is that not where the concern must be? Because I as a critically ill near junior woman, and I said one more cases leading to death. But shouldn't we rather be concerned about the post-COVID-19 cases? You have to say, man, for more now the virus leaves some residue, some deposits in their system. We have read different articles to the effect that for some people, the residue affects their lungs, for some, their hearts, for some, their nervous systems, for some, their kidneys, their liver, and other organs in the body. Is that not where our minds must go to? Seeing, at the moment, I think yesterday there was an article that I read about how a year Kolebu Teaching Hospital, when we were in our department, cases of kidney failures are eba hono and yasem ketwa. And ya hono was yedi and yedi eshe.
Let me make this distinction as I progress. Let's not misinform the public. Kidney cases have been on the rise before COVID-19 set in. And I don't know, on our side. Now, Obian Kokase, Ebia Meneo, two fellow Spartans, Yabetinus, and yes, say amount 5 say post-COVID complications, and are leading to a stage of kidney conditions at Kolebu.
Indeed.
And Okre say post-COVID conditions need be affecting kidneys. There's no doubt about it. There are other aspects to that affects me. I had last year, February, I was down with COVID and I was symptomatic. Now, it took me close to 9 months to 10 months to fully recover. As I said, after my several other tests, they just said I was negative. it took me a while because me say me a very physical. Not walk cry na me kobi because kwa kakra na me homete. Me fear me bibi kakra na me homete, and I was told some my lungs were not getting the full expansions and stuff I was saying that. But nyami adom after 9 or 10 months, they say my fully recovered. I'm a bamid, me see me that day. Now the other aspect maybe I'm me and everything actually say me see me that day my pa. But did say me see me that day. So and you know, there are post-COVID situations that we should be concerned about. But let's draw our minds back on, say, for those that have not seen any research, HSA, asymptomatic persons, one more such situations when they recover. Because number one, most asymptomatic persons will never seek, for anything, medical attention. So, one, they never knew they had the COVID. And two, they will probably never know even if they are suffering post-COVID medical conditions. That's one. I mean, who research BHS asymptomatic patients and actually suffer, post-COVID conditions. But at least what we know is that symptomatic persons suffer post-COVID. Now, the chroma symptomatic persons, is roughly between 2 to 10%. What I say, 2 to 10%. So you take the numbers that we have recorded since 2020 March up to now. The numbers I are recording, majority of them were asymptomatic. 10%, they do run out 10%, you bit now far, roughly 10% of some are symptomatic. Those symptomatic persons at 10%. I do not know what percentage actually showed post-COVID or what we call long COVID. I'm experiencing long COVID symptoms. And they have the data and they are following the science. At this juncture, maybe we would need to call on them to share with us what the data says or what the science says about those symptomatic persons, whether the situation of long COVID among those are very prevalent and are very pronounced. Then we can also share opinions on. But as it stands now, for us at the Bureau, we were okay with the President's 28th address because we are following what is happening across other jurisdictions, and we think Ghana is even coming in late.
Now, Yadin Komono Ebane Wiana Mibisa say, is there any word of advice you'd give to all of us? You've already indicated that as much as possible, as much as these restrictions have been lifted, you're trying to observe social distancing, and if you feel put on the nose mask. But since any Ghana city the driver ni air America or you're wrong overtaking now prompting na passengers need to go so. Se me kofu trotro na me ko me nose mask ya me kan jenza akwa we tu no.
I mean that's it. Anope mi go see me manu school na o ka say me chere I say bibi e sad isan say akwa no nko a ana me ka chere say we are say by ya ba ni ba nko a ya ko so ayenkwa enti se wo ana onimu ho ene wo yaye ene sena wapomudin esitiefa se me ko from a trotro na me she me nose mask no be we ka say me etu no a so be it because sebi trotro no me si free mu na me ko du free na me ntimi nhome na me bra eye me yire ene me mba ene ebre omo na ebebre adechie no sebi nyame mpengu se me hwere me nkwa Echina no for the next 1 year me really shaking too. Otimi nko ensheda nko wedding papa bia na party papa bia nko jigani. Enso nipa oti trotro mu so madam fu so me nyonku so me neighbor ono de otimi she ni tuntum ba me yi ase esa run to shifita ko wedding. And you know, we are getting to the time also be a pain no upon no home by. Now say uncle cribia be dream no upon no home by. I believe that to translate on into the society. And you know, and okay, nose mask wearing is no longer mandatory. Obin to me should be our totem section say nose mask. The mean to me show dear, now me to me ashe me nose mask upon the home buying if the potential of me getting infected or reinfected. This I say you know I say and ya come you say nipa du and enya say na emu kronti momunyim. Nti obi nam ho be ka che say aden no abeta na hye nose man na tu no be no. Ebi ana sa nipa no no ka to no sa da no kra no no COVID-19. Enti no bon ho ban efiri no. Beye a year ago, last year around August, we call wedding in America. Me do honor. In some at least, you pay you for being news in Sia, approach me at some point, say, oh, Aaron Carcassum, you want no mask, be a grandma family vaccinated, and I'm going to be vaccinated. That's not my vaccinated. To be a vaccinated, them vaccinated to me, a bomb on home by. Also, remember, home by you know, my missing yet. So it's understandable sometimes how awkward one appears when he finds himself in certain spaces because but you must also think that on your sick bed you will not be there with anybody. It is also you know the ball by but one day show no man na ball by. It's not say ya dear no man penny be can one kasa ya dear no cool. That's what we must all understand. The president did not say COVID-19 is no longer in Ghana. Now, or just say, yeah, vaccinating the Padona, I think should do eba hospital, can no move down about hospital, oxygen issue almost so not brassy. And to say, dear, you should say, a see, be quite on a month for Bob, Juma or some year. Ne yake ka ho emphasis ne ade a wo nya interviews ne amanfo ntimi join wo mukunu ne wo mire no amanoni ebi ntimi nya business na do bia so enwo he enti no se say ade mi jem no smarts no opa men she na yenhwe ne yebekọ enti no yenti ho asese ade no ma panya nka se kọ enti no smarts no mesre wo ho na what diabetes or hypertension or ya DBF fat kidneys, ne lungs, ne account one. But what ya national smarts na bon who by could see say bones say there annual brass cra eba bear to say seasonal condition. I feel wait me and tell my what it tell now. And could see Sabrina dear, you bet sure be young cry. Say no smarts no, no cost around shit.
You. Minia yebeda wase anopai se wajembe na oni edin komona ade nchechemu kakra ade abre but aya one analysis are now making about 90% being asymptomatic, you know, considering some more no more bureau more concerned about public safety, you know, are we not being put in danger per your position say asymptomatic for no edosum yenye nim say reinfection after people have vaccinated, not even just once, but omanya booster shots, maybe once or twice, Kwampono?
Well, this is a fact that we've known since sometime June 2020. And yet, before Bureau of Public Safety, I did trigger. I mean, it's public knowledge. Say we have 90% asymptomatic. And you know, I will not agree. Say we are putting something in the minds of the people. As a matter of fact, that has also been the situation. It's not just the fact that it's out there. It has been the situation. Me, until February this year, now I was working for, the largest textile manufacturing company in Ghana. I was their health and safety and environmental coordinator, aside overseeing the protection for employees in the 800 worker, plant in Terminal. Now I was also overseeing about 21 other facilities across the country. And when COVID struck, I was a COVID champion. And I'm telling you, say, there were situations where we conducted tests for employees, at the peak of COVID. And employees came out negative. There were situations where we conducted tests for people who had come in contact with, for anything, persons who were infected. They came out negative. And there were situations where we conducted tests, just exploratory tests, and people who were working there strong, they came out positive. And I think say COVID no, and remember COVID-19 who no, and remember where na omanpanyi bi anya COVID. I mean, and I was COVID champion. I mean, from such him a betcho. Which nose mask team ya betcho. And so I got COVID. How I got it still remains a mystery. Health Minister, I don't know deal kunenim gidi. Many tier now COVID the trainable. And you look at spaces and places and personalities Alpha Senka, they will really be shielded. And so many tier no more COVID. And COVID-19 the spread no but the sweet or the good part of it was that in this part of our world, it proves we had some resistance. In terms of severity, and Haiti and Haiti Europe. Well, some science are saying says purely because of our demographics. In Africa, the majority of our people are, beautiful. And so one more said that when you fear, so it could be say it population na dodo na awumfie akwanim between their 60s and 90s so between 95 100 na ade nti na omo dodo na ewuwu ya no but whatever the sciences we know say COVID did not dealt the kind of blow that it dealt the West. It did not dealt Africa that kind of blow. And that fact is not only a fact but it's something that we lived through. Say dodo na inya COVID, not as much were hospitalized and not as much also died. I mean, at some point in Ghana, we were estimating the mortality rate to under 2%, was under 1%. And so that's the reality. And yes, I be papers, desktop research, the two. But these were the statistics that we actually were confronted with.
Well, text Bisa say, is it about time I see ya lifting restrictions, Or Bese Ohunu said, should we also have these test kits? The ones that look like the regular pregnancy test kits, the
antigen testing kits.
Is it about time I say, abano Emma Bebre, Eba system no more, manfo na nkasa, ebetimi, and so ayo mo test na, we check mo say bia tomorrow.
Okay, so I think it would be good for government to lead that charge. Me antigen test kita, me carefully amano nemba ebetu fia periodically. Me no ka say to say my 18 back. And to me, me 18 in the course of the day. Me kofia me 5 years, no any some swab ya me to cassette my whether me a pastor na me mama after 5 days no my son test you. Me negative na me in the bed. Me a positive and my pet, my quarantine on my pet, me friends and management controls into the system. Ebruchi woman agent mandating mask ni signing my Those things are available at government to supply. But in the first place, our government is already struggling with finances. And it will be foolhardy for me as a professional safety practitioner to call on government, say, Onkoto, Embre, Omanfo. But at least if you can create the enabling import situation so that pharmacists and other companies interested in, retailing some of these antigen test kits can also bring it in without duty, without paying duties on these items, so that it to be affordable for the average man to buy a couple in his household to be testing themselves frequently. And I thank you so much, Shen, for bringing this suggestion up actually, that the government must enable citizens to access some of these antigen test kits at the domestic level to test themselves. To say you test now, it can cost you as much as 700 cedis and as low as 250 Ghana cedis. The GD say, and these test kits do not cost that much. And some GD says, I buy no AJ amount for Eto and the Biba Kromoha. Now you retain it at the pharmacy shops level, like pregnancy test kits. People should be able to afford these things, under 100 cities to test themselves when they have a reason to suspect that they may be suffering from COVID. I think that is a very, very brilliant question that Testa brought in. And most especially on your network, I think we should take this one up.
All right. My final one, next month, public safety month.
I mean, that's it. And you also know I'm the chairman for the National Safety Council. I know a Kubia safety professionals na professional body under the Ministry of Employment and Labor Relations. And next month, last year they declared the month of April as a National Safety Month. And the month of April will be a National Safety Month. And April, a National Safety Month. The theme, I think I ran. The theme is basically on building policies and translating those policies into actions. And in the coming month, we are going to look at public safety. We are going to look at active self-protection. We are going to look at occupational safety and emergency preparedness. And under these broad categories, we will be looking at issues like transportation safety. We'll be looking at issues like murder, homicide rates in this country. We'll be looking at individual for instance, security measures are individuals are taking, and we'll be looking at CC for emergencies, explosions, flooding, then you can home. And the cat have a dam now. Now what should be when we take some of these thematic areas now, we'll bring out areas of concern. Mumma and Wakwenya will bring experts from industry, academia to come and discuss some of these issues and throw more lights on them. And for starters, the first week of April, we'll be doing active self-protection. And Samumaya Akwada will come and engage your listeners and the country as a whole. We have a lot of very rich resource persons on the bill. They will be handling various subjects at the various radio and television stations. It's a Mumaya slot Yambra na in cover.
Minia only problem is it Zunia my in danger. I'm going to say, when so my in danger, and any problem. Quack. But I was an open and I said, Ujima didn't come on. And Nana, and then it didn't come out what they teach him a crack at the brain.